Welcome to Tulsa Titans, highlighting our local business professionals who are making a difference. Today, I've got Nathan Lashley. Nathan, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good. Nathan is a doctor at Metro Tulsa Foot and Ankle. To get started, Nathan, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
You bet. Yeah. Nathan Lashley. I doctor of podiatric medicine. I'm originally from Oklahoma. My parents were school teachers when I was younger. So I was born in McAllister. We moved to Fort Gibson for elementary school. I went to junior high at Jinx, high school at Edmond Memorial. Played a lot of sports throughout that time and spent most of my college years at Northeastern and Tahlequah, where I graduated. I played football there for a couple of years. Also attended OSU in the middle of that. From there, when I was out of school, I was very athletic, sustained a few injuries, played some college football, was able to get out of that without having any major injuries, but still played recreational, ended up rupturing both my Achilles tendons a couple of years apart, which obviously is one of the reasons why I'm in the specialty that I'm in today, because I suffered injuries that led to foot issues with me, and it sparked a personal interest. So after a couple of years of working here in Tulsa, my wife and I chose to pursue a medical career, and we applied to different universities that throughout the state that did medical, not throughout the state, but throughout the country that had a podiatry type program with their medical school. And we ended up in Chicago, and podiatry school is a little bit different than traditional medical school. You have your first 2 years are very similar to that. A lot of the basic medical sciences, we take the same classes with MD-DO type students, but then we also specialize a little bit more. Once we finished with school, we went to Cleveland, Ohio, did a residency at the Cleveland Clinic, and then I spent my last 2 years of residency in Oklahoma City at the Surgical Hospital of Oklahoma. From there, we were able to stay in Oklahoma. I was lucky enough to have a Native American scholarship. My mom's family's Cherokee, so I had a payback. They paid for some of my school, so I worked at the Claremore Indian Hospital for a few years after residency. And then I was able to rejoin some friends of mine and classmates here at Metro Tulsa Foot and Ankle. And I've been here since 2013, became partner in 2015, been going strong ever since.
Well, I'm interested, especially with your specialty. You just walked through, what all it took just to get there. And you mentioned, hey, I took an interest in it. How important is it? And you have a staff, right, that people really truly get into something they have an interest in?
Absolutely. We do have a good staff. We have 9 doctors in our group, first off, and they're all extremely well trained. We have a physical therapist who, that was one part I did leave out. My wife is our physical therapist at our group. When I was in school, at medical school in Chicago, she actually chose to go back and she pursued a doctorate degree in physical therapy. She was able to do her externship rotations at the Cleveland Clinic, where I was at doing residency at the same time. So that was a very challenging year when you have a newborn baby. Our daughter was born in Chicago in 2005, and we picked up and moved to Cleveland for residency. And so we juggled that for a year. We're able to come home soon after that. But we have a physical therapist as well in our group, to get back to our group. It happens to be my wife, and she was at St. John's for years and years, and we ended up being able to bring her on board Metro Tulsa, and it's been a good thing. And in addition to that, obviously, we have a very well-trained foot and ankle specialists. We perform, anything foot and ankle related, everything from simple elective type surgeries, from hammer toes and bunions and heel pain and different arthritic procedures such as fusions. We have a specialist in our group that also performs a total ankle replacement, which is something that does require some separate training, some more advanced training. So we feel like as a whole, we're able to offer the spectrum when it comes to foot and ankle.
Awesome. Well, you and I were talking about how busy you guys are in this season, but the season prior, so 2020 affected everybody.
2020 was so interesting. And we kind of fell into that situation where, they kind of took elective surgeries away from us right when everything hit. And that did affect us because we do quite a few elective surgeries. We still were able to treat infections that came in, or fractures, anything that was more urgent. We could still operate. We could still take care of our patients. But it was such an interesting few months there. And believe it or not, especially my office here in the Midtown area, I office with Dr. David Francis. We're at 36th and Harvard. And our office seems to have a pretty steady flow of patients. And there was just maybe a few weeks where things really dropped off, and maybe we went home at lunch a few days. But overall, we still stayed pretty steady. The other interesting thing about 2020, I saw a lot of patients that they should have been going to the emergency room, honestly. But people were so scared, apprehensive about going in and seeking treatment at a facility where they knew COVID patients were being cared for. So we would see things come in that probably should have been in the emergency room. And it was very strange time. But we were able to get through it. Since that time, it slowly, steadily has just continued to grow. The summer months are always busy for us when the kids are out of school. 2020, we were able to, again, get through 2020 summer, but this summer has really been busy, a lot busier than the last summer. I think the further we get away from the initial impact of COVID, I think, obviously we see things continue to uptick.
When this season of your career, and then again, reflecting and having some additional time during the down months for COVID, are there things that you're consuming more of? Are there things that you've scaled out of your life?
I'll tell you one thing that I definitely have scaled out of my life is social media. Our group has a small presence for marketing reasons and things like that, which I think is important. And the administration, the staff that we have, they do an excellent job with that. But personally, I found that being on social media and just the constant wave of information that honestly, you don't know how legitimate it is. And I felt like that was one thing that was really I was able to kind of calm myself a little bit by just stepping away from that. My wife she'll make fun of me because I still look at, I'm a big sports guy. So I still look at some of the news feed for certain Twitter football teams or things like that, but I don't do anything personal. I don't read the news stories for the most part. I don't, the real radical things. I've just really tried to tone that out.
When you guys are balancing, kind of, you keep bringing up your kids, right? So you're raising kids, you've moved a lot, your business is very busy. What's a habit every day that you have that helps you be effective?
Well, I think, you've got to have a good balance. I love to exercise. I think that's one thing that definitely kind of keeps me balanced. I had another foot surgery this year, believe it or not, earlier this spring, because I had another issue with a tendon. That seems to be a common theme with me, but that's kind of cut into my workout a little bit. I'm still trying to recover from that, but that is one thing that consists, especially through the COVID times, it never really dropped off at the gym. We went outside to work out, but exercising, I think, allows me to have a certain balance. We have very strong church life. And again, something else that was affected by COVID, we attend Boston Avenue United Methodist downtown. We had our doors shut for about a year. We just recently reopened, and attendance has still been hit and miss. I know we've still been hit and miss. We traveled quite a bit this year, but pre-COVID, that was one thing that I was able to find, attending church on a regular basis is another way, obviously, to stay balanced. I think you need that certain amount of that kind of religion in your life, in my opinion. That's the way I was raised. So.
Yeah, I was raised that way also, in community. I mean, the screens, technology can make us be efficient. That's exactly what we do as technology, but you've got to have community. You've got to have real relationships face to face with people.
Absolutely. You sure do. Yeah. And that's in my opinion, that's the church. That's the nice thing about the church. The church isn't the building. The church is the people. It's the people coming together, fellowshipping, communicating, supporting each other. And it's a big part, I think, of our life, and hope it'll continue to be.
Yeah, and I hope that the COVID season drives that out. Everybody was so separated because
Sure.
We're really comfortable. We're in a very blessed country if you travel at all, right? And we're also
Absolutely.
separated that I think people saw, hey, this can be super toxic, and we've been
Sure.
really comfortable, and we have neglected how privileged we are to come together and gather and do whatever we want. We
Absolutely.
did a unity festival, a revival at Guthrie Green, got 97 pastors involved praying together this last week.
That's
and
great.
Man, when everybody got together, man, it was powerful, right? There's some power in then everybody getting together and doing some fellowship. So what, when you moved, because I had that happen too, right? We were running a couple different groups. We started up this business. My first kid was born and we were moving,
right.
Just everything all at once. What got you out of bed? Like on the worst days, why were you optimistic? What's your why?
That's a good question. I think a lot of it boils down to the profession that I chose. I wanted to help people. I was able to do it through my medical specialty. And, I'm one of those people that I lay in bed at night and I think about my patients, guys like, man, I hope this guy's doing better. I hope this patient, follows through and does what I ask him to do. You have certain surgical patients that you follow and you just want them to do well. And I get concerned about them and I think about them. And that's one thing that drives me is I want to make sure that my patients are taken care of. I want to go that extra mile and do everything I can for them. I feel like that our staff here does an excellent job of that. I get a lot of compliments from our patients saying, everyone in your office is so optimistic. They're They're very positive. They're very nice. And that's something that I try to talk to them about, instill that to them. I always have I say, you got to kill them with kindness. You've got to be nice. You need to do that. Even when someone is not happy, they're not pleased about something. And that's where you really have to kill them with kindness.
When outside of killing with kindness, I completely agree, is you can't put yourself in their emotions. People go through stuff. And a lot of times when human beings lash out, it doesn't have anything to do with you, right? Yeah. It's building up. So outside of that, what are some other core values that you want your staff to implement and know?
I try to lead by example at my office. I try to be the first one here every day. Sometimes I have a nurse that beats me occasionally, but I get here every day, and I try to go through and do certain small things. I try to lead by example. I'm detail oriented. I come up and, when you're a small business owner, you'll know this, you have to wear a lot of hats. You have to do a lot of different things. You can't be too good to come in here and sweep the floors or water the flowers or do whatever that has to be done. And I feel like that's one thing that I try to do, is I try to lead by example and show them that it takes dedication. It takes hard work. A lot of things that I think I learned through playing athletics. You're part of a team. Everybody's got a role, and you have to show up and you have to do it. And so that's one thing that I think that I try to do here is again, show my staff that, I'm here early. I'm here taking care of business, and usually here late, along with Dr. Francis. He sometimes takes a little bit longer with me on his notes, but that's one of the things that we try to do.
So on your journey, and you mentioned Dr. Francis, who are some people that you admire? Who poured into you to get you where you're at?
It's a good question. I definitely got to say my grandfather, my mother's dad. He was an amazing man. He World War II veteran. He was in the Pacific Theater, grew up between Fort Gibson and Tahlequah. As soon as he got out of the war, came back, married his high school sweetheart, set up shop, and he was a farmer from forever. And that guy would work. He knew how to work. And he was very church oriented. He was an elder in his church for a long period of time. And he was just a kind, generous person. I spent a lot of summers staying with him, my grandparents. And I remember he had big gardens, and he would work gardens, and he would take this produce and he would drive it around town, and he would, donate it to people and things like that. And he would help anybody, anywhere, anytime. And that was something to me that it kind of instilled a certain amount of servitude, just wanting to serve and help others and be kind.
Outside of just your patients, any other ideas on how to serve people? I'm always looking for inspiration there.
It's still kind of patient related, but one thing I do, and I'm proud of our organization, we donate our time at the day center. They have a medical clinic. I don't know if you're aware of that or not. And we all donate time to spend at the medical clinic to see patients there, the indigent patients, obviously, that need help. Our offices are really good about gathering supplies. We collect shoes and socks and medical things, and we take them down there, and we try to keep that staff. So that's another thing that we try to do, also to be generous. And it fills me up. I love going down there, because the people are very grateful that you're there, that you're able to help them, because a lot of them have pretty serious conditions. So that's one thing that I definitely enjoy doing, donating time to the homeless day center.
Yeah, the day center. And then we're blessed to be in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We have so many. I've met some of the CEOs of some of our nonprofits, and I have a hard time keeping up with them. They're so passionate about what they do for people. And I think not enough people know they have that opportunity. Because when you run a small business, you know what I love about volunteering at a great organization? I'm not.
Yeah, that's right.
I just show up and give, and it's organized, man. It's such a blessing, and it fills me up for the rest of my week.
Yeah, absolutely. And our Bible class at Boston Avenue was really good. Pre-COVID was really good about, we would do certain things, certain work projects and different things around town. And I love being a part of that as well.
Well, I've got a really cool story, and I want to tee up because of what you said. We got to hand out flyers for that festival we just had. And so we went to North Tulsa and went up to some people that, and certain people would think certain things, right? They're human beings. And so the cool thing about the flyers, they had stuff for kids. So we opened up the door by saying, hey, do you have kids? This is for your kids. We're doing giveaways. And then we just ask them how they're doing and listen. And when we listened to them, man, people were going through all kinds of hardships, right? But I had a guy that, dude, he flips houses for a living and invests in houses. Yeah. And he does it really, really well, right? And just what I love that you said was, somebody could say, well, I know all about owning real estate, right? How am I going to help somebody? We're at a door, and this girl's crying because her mom's credit's so bad. And he writes down his cell phone number with tears in his eyes. He hands it to the little girl and says, I know how to fix credit. I know that's my area. Finance is my area. Call me. I will help fix our credit, right? And so I don't know who's listening, but whatever you have learned can be applied to somebody else that just doesn't have that wisdom. Go use it. And so, what else is great about small business owners? I'll pivot here at the end. You can't get a medical degree and run a business. It doesn't teach you anything about running a business. So what books and what information have you used besides trial and error to help understand the business?
Yeah. That I'll tell you, and I'll be the first to tell you, I'm probably not the most business savvy partner that we have. We've got a couple other partners that probably are a little bit more involved in the business aspect of things. Plus, we've got two excellent administrators, and actually three. We've got, I'll say their names: Tori Record, Sandra Bennett, and then Brandy Covington. And those three girls have done an excellent job of keeping our business. It's difficult. There's lots of, again, you're trying to stay and see busy clinics and trying to see patients and stay busy. But of course, there's always the business side of things and the intricacies of how that work. I tend to read different books. I've dabbled in some of those types, but again, I'm probably not the most business savvy guy in our group. And we've got a couple more guys, Dr. Justin Albright and Sean Hatfield and Steve Smith. And those guys are probably a little bit more on the business side of things. But, when I do read, it kind of brings me back a little bit. We were talking about my grandfather. The last couple of books that I read, I'd kind of gotten into the Greatest Generation type books. And there were two World War II books that I really, really enjoyed. And my wife is a big reader too. She reads a lot. And she's always like, you've got to read this one. And I have to give her credit. But one of them was called Once Upon a Town. And it was about a small town in Nebraska that had a train stop during World War II where people would come and the town would just take care of all the GIs as they would come through. They would give them food and they would have a little small time. They only stopped for a brief period, but they still tried to take care of all the soldiers as they came through. And the other one was Unbroken, which was made into a movie about Louis Zamperini. And that one, of course, that was an unbelievable story of what that man went through as a POW in Japan and all these different things and was able to escape. And just fascinating read if you ever get a chance. But those are the two that kind of stuck out in my mind more recently.
Okay, thanks. And I'm going to go somewhere because I don't get to go this place often. As I talk to some people that have been seasoned in business, they might have good answers to everything. Guys, it's such a gift to say, I don't know. And so Nathan's like, hey, I'm not the best. And then the other thing is if you have a gift and talent and man, you have just such skill and wisdom in one area, you can create profit. And if you create profit and you can be humble, you can hire people to do the things that you're not good at. And that's when small business and big business grow, by the way, when you try not to be everything to everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. I completely agree. You're right. They don't teach business in any medical school. It's a little bit of a struggle. A lot of people, of course, that's a different story, but I say a lot of people, they join in with a big hospital system, so they don't have to worry about that. And being a solo private practitioner in this town, it can be challenging with the big systems here, between the three big guys. You just try to carve your own little niche and just keep going.
Well, I'll pump you up too. If you ever spend time with a small business, they care more. You get into the big systems and stuff, and their process to let the talent just exist as an employee, the passion leaves. So go see Nathan.
All right. Awesome.
So Nathan, if somebody has a question for you, what's your best form of communication? How do they get a hold of you?
Well, our website is tulsafoot.com. That should definitely get you to our portal. You can leave questions, and our cell phone number is 918-494-2902. That's our main office line. You can get a hold, schedule appointments, talk with administration, anything that you need to do as far as getting a hold of us. And we'd be happy to help.
Well, everybody, thank you. I'm Kellen Cowan, one of the partners here at New Wave Solutions. Nathan, thank you for giving, man.
Awesome. Thank you.